Hi, I'm Jim,
And I'm Kevin,
and we are.
the Signal Brothers. Hey, folks, welcome back to another live podcast from the Signal Brothers. Unlike a lot of other podcasts, we are unscripted and unedited. What you see is what you get. We love that. Thanks for being here. Do us a favor. If you like what you're listening to, whether it's Facebook or it's on YouTube, like, follow, and subscribe to our podcast. Would you do that for us? Help us out. Help us grow. We want to get the word out there. All opinions expressed by Jim and I are solely ours, and they're not representative of our employees or our family members. So if we say something that you find offensive or you think is offensive, number one, we're not trying to be offensive. Number two, it has nothing to do with our family members or employers. We love to take questions during our podcast related to the subjects we're covering. So if you have a subject that you want to cover, go ahead and put it in the chat, and we will. We sometimes we get intense and we don't see it right away, but we try to get to them pretty quick and answer them right away. You're passionate about something that you want to discuss with us, let's get you on the podcast as a guest. Again, even if you don't agree with some of our opinions, we still want to have you on the podcast, right? We want to have a good civil discourse conversation with you, and we love having people on that have a different opinion than us. Hey, if you know somebody who wants to be on the podcast, let us know. Connect us with them. We'd love to get them on the podcast and have them there. Got an idea for a podcast? Let us know. Put it in the chat. We'll be happy to cover your subject. Well, without any further ado, Jim, I'm going to turn it over to you to do an introduction.
All right. Well, we do have a guest today, Mr. Carl. He's going to come on. He's going to talk about military family benefits, death benefits, that kind of thing, and how that works, what he does. Basically, what we can do about open up service member families, that kind of thing. And with no further ado, we're going to go ahead and turn it over to Carl. Welcome, Carl.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So we're going to start out right at the beginning. What made you join the Marine Corps?
All right. So my grandfather, he was in the Army, but the military got instilled in me when I was young from him. And then my stepfather was a Marine. So I wanted to join, in my opinion, the best branch of military. Wanted a challenge, and that is what led me to join the Marine Corps.
Awesome.
That's very interesting. So how did you become a mortuary affairs specialist in the Marine Corps?
All right. So Iraq was kicking off. And we got voluntold to do a mortuary mission. It was not my original MOS. I came into the Marine Corps as a food service specialist. Did not do that ever. Probably a year after I joined my reserve unit in DC, we were told that we were going to deploy to do the mortuary mission. Received some pretty quick training on what we were going to be doing overseas. And that was pretty much it. So we're told we're going to Iraq. They give us a few months to get ready to go. And we go to Quantico. We do a training called Quantico Viper there for a couple of weeks. And they send us off to California. We do more training out there before we fly out to Kuwait and spend a week there before they ship us off to Iraq. We first went to Al-Taqaddum, and we're there for probably about a month, and then they separated us. So there were 3 bases in Iraq that we primarily worked out of. It was Al-Taqaddum, which was the main hub in Iraq for us, and then we had a group that went out to Al-Assad in Iraq, and then just before the Battle of Fallujah was getting ready to kick off, Phantom Fury, they sent a small group of us there to get ready to do that. So I ended up going to Fallujah with that group. and did the mortuary mission in Fallujah, and it was tough. During that battle, we unfortunately lost a lot of Marines, and we were the ones responsible for getting them home.
Okay. So what exactly does the job entail? If you can get detailed, a little more detailed, what actually do you do during those services?
Sure. So if a Marine or any service member really passed away in Fallujah, their remains would be brought to us, and we would catalog all their personal effects, their equipment, and then we would prepare them to send them home.
Mhm.
So we would annotate. We had a lot of forms. Don't ask me the names of the forms. It's been a lot of years. I don't remember, but we had to annotate everything down to the serial number of dollar bills. Everything was annotated. And then we would, prepare them, put them in body bags, and wait for their transport to come, which would be by helicopter.
Mhm.
They'd send us 46s over. And this was all while the battle was going on in the city. So those helicopters would come at night. They'd be escorted by Cobras, and we would be putting their remains on those helicopters that would then be transported back to Al-Taqaddum before they would finally be sent back to, I believe they were going to Baghdad and then Germany, and then from Germany to Dover Air Force Base.
Okay.
So I know some of the stuff can be tough, Carl. I know it's not easy. So anytime during the interview, if you need to take a break or whatever, let us know, and that's okay, right?
I appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean it must be tough work. It must be absolutely tough work to lose a fellow Marine and then have to be the one to do the work you're doing. So could you cover what happens to service members when they're killed in action? How do they get back to the U.S.? How does that whole process really go? I mean, I know you skimmed on that, but I'd like you to go. Not when I say in detail, I don't mean into the the ugly details, but the general process, right? Because we've seen a lot of pictures on TV where the casket arrives in Dover, right, or in over here in the U.S. But I'm sure there's a whole process that goes on in between.
Yeah. I mean,
Yes.
What is that Kevin movie? I forgot his name now.
Taking
Kevin Bacon
chance.
movie. Yes. That.
So taking chance is pretty accurate once they get back to the States. So when we would take care of the remains, again, we're doing the prep, we're preparing them to travel. And then the flight crews all have a manifest of the deceased service members that are on their flights. So they're tracked all the way back to the States. Dog tags are traveling with them. Every remains pouch or body bag had a metal band on it that was serialized. So the process of getting them home, they were tracked without fail. This is a no fail mission for us.
Right.
So yeah, once they got back to Dover, essentially, and we'll get into how the family members are taken care of and travel and everything. But while they're at Dover, the decisions are made on them going to their final resting place. So from Dover, they'll be transported back to whatever state their family wants them to be buried or their cremains to maintain.
Okay.
And
Wow.
so just and I know this is tough stuff. So I mean, you're actually responsible for getting them in the body bag, getting them in the casket, getting the flag on the coffin, and all those things that we see go on, or is that all?
So that's more. So when they get to Al-Taqaddum, that's when they're placed in the transfer case that gets the flag draped over. And again, this is Iraq, Afghanistan. I want to say it was Kabul, but I could be way off. I don't remember how things were being processed in Afghanistan. But Al-Taqaddum is where they had all the transfer cases, and they would do a big military send off from Al-Taqaddum back to or when they left Al Taqaddum.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where the transfer cases, the flags. There are some videos on YouTube about how mortuary fares. Oh, it's called personnel retrieval and processing now, but I mean, these guys spend hours ironing flags. There's a specific way that the flag is draped over the transfer case using 550 cord, which is like an elastic cord, and it is sharp. So those flags are starched, ironed, and draped. Everything's meticulous.
Mm-hmm.
Even the way that the transfer cases are carried onto birds, you are to carry them feet first. So those, we call them angels, but those deceased service members, it's to simplify or signify that they're walking onto the plane. And then once they get onto the bird, you rotate the transfer case, so they're traveling head first at all times.
Every piece of it has a detailed meaning to it.
Absolutely. Yep.
And that's really good to hear. I mean, really, these people laid down their life in defense of freedom for our country, and they're getting the dignified recognition every step of the way that they need. That's amazing, Carl.
Yeah.
Wow. That's deep. I remember when I was stationed at Redstone, Kevin, it was a few months before we went to BNOC, and then a few months after I got back, I was on the post funeral detail. I never saw, Carl, your end of it, but I remember when they would get to their final resting place, we would perform the burial ceremonies, the 21 gun salute, and the folding the flag, all that the people are more familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
Even when I was doing that, I never really lent a thought to your end of it, to how they got from one place to another.
Yeah. We're not a lot of people know about us. The Army does have an equivalent, the 92 mics. We all go to school at Fort Lee for training down here in Virginia. It's just it's a mission that doesn't get talked about much, and I'm happy to be here to discuss it with you guys.
I remember we did a couple of details on that. We got, you got the young, 20-year-old soldiers that are tough guys, and they're talking this and talking that. I'm watching them go up behind the building and cry. And I mean, it's an emotional roller coaster.
It's tough. Yeah.
I couldn't imagine, probably one of the toughest jobs you probably had in your career, Carl.
100%. But one of the most rewarding. I wouldn't trade any of it. And it's gotten me to where I am today, thankfully. And I've met some incredible people along the way.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
How about when the body gets back? I think we briefly covered, the fact of, finding out, but can we talk about a little bit more once the body arrives in the States? We talked about, what state they're going to be buried in or whatever happens to remains, but I'm sure there's a process involved in that as well.
Yeah. So I'll get into that. So I actually worked for the Marine Corps casualty branch after my deployments ended. And that's kind of where the behind the scenes process of assisting the family members comes in. So as soon as the casualty section would get notified of a service member passing away, killed in action, then we go into action at the casualty section. So we'll get a CACO signed up, which is a casualty assistance calls officer. And they're the Marines that go and knock on the doors to notify the family members. And from there, that CACO is with that family member even until after that service member is placed into the ground. They provide services for months. So we'll get notified. We'll get a CACO spun up or multiple CACOs, depending on how the family dynamics are. And then that between us and the CACO, we have Navy personnel in that office. There are morticians. We coordinate their travel to Dover Air Force Base to receive those remains. And those are the videos that you'll see of the casket or the transfer cases coming off the back of a bird. We actually use Marines from 8th and I. They're the body bearers that go up to pull those transfer cases off. So the family can be at Dover to witness that. And then while they're there is normally when they'll make the determination of where and how that service member is going to get back home or back to their final resting place. So Dover, depending on where they're going, they might drive them. So if they're local to the Delaware area, like Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, then they'll coordinate transportation by vehicle from there. If they're flying somewhere else, then they'll coordinate air travel for them from Dover to that main airport. And there's videos of that where family members are meeting on a tarmac and a transfer case is being pulled off a Delta flight. So that's kind of where you'll see that. So from Dover, if they're going to fly, they'll take the transfer case to Philadelphia Airport, and they'll fly them out from there on a civilian airline. And then also, so going back to taking chance, there will be an escort assigned to that service member. The escort is normally the same rank or a rank above the service member that passed. So if you have a captain, then your escort's going to be a captain or a major traveling back with that service member. And, you know, I'll go give my buddy Deli, Brent Deloach, a shout out. He's been an escort as well. I met him at the casualty section, and he's been a guy that's helped me get through a lot of stuff that I've had to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
So
now in taking chance, I mean, Kevin Bacon never left him. He slept in an airport hangar. I mean, he just never left that body for one moment.
Correct. And that's the escort's job, is to be with that service member until they get to a funeral home.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, yeah, and then well, go ahead with your.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to get into like the Keiko. Once I mean, these guys are incredible. They're taking care of all the benefits for the family members to make sure, you know, they're getting their monetary benefits, any other resources that they are entitled to, that Keiko is working with the casualty section to make sure that those family members are getting what's owed to them.
Yeah.
This is pretty amazing to me. I mean, and the timing couldn't be I won't say better. Better is not the right word. Just it lines up because you know, the Army service members that died in Kuwait, I knew one of them personally, and so, you know, I attended his funeral. You know, I'm still in touch with his spouse, and they, you know, we read about it all the time, Carl, but to actually see somebody, you know, go through what she's going through and to be there for him, you know, after that happened was, so I think having you on at this time and explaining the process is just amazing. Right.
Sure. Yeah. And even if a service member dies stateside, they still receive the same treatment. They're getting the Army calls them casualty assistance officers, the Marine Corps' casualty assistance calls officers. Those family members are assigned a service member to help them through the entire process. And there's a casualty section with that branch of military that is assisting as well behind the scenes. Every branch of military has a casualty assistance section.
And we see a little bit of it with the arrangements for the funeral services and stuff like that, but that's the tail end of it. I mean, that's the very end of all of it. You know,
sure.
By the time we see it, everything's been taken care of. They're back stateside. They're at their final resting place, and we just go and perform the funeral. So the only time we've gotten anything more than that, there was one I probably performed at different levels. Probably 50 funerals. We got one time a family wrote us a commendation. We got a letter. I got hanging up in my office behind me, actually. One time. Yeah. And it was amazing. But yeah, it's quite, I don't do funerals today just simply because of that. I will go to a showing, but I will not go to an actual ceremony just because of that, you know, because I did so many.
Sure.
And hours may have been half an hour, 45 minutes, we didn't deal with it from the beginning to to that point like you guys did. I mean, that's the majority of it right there. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, so the funeral honors, that was part of my casualty experience as well. So I worked in the funeral honors section for casualty and was coordinating those military honors that you were doing for the Marine Corps for the entire country. Hell, we were doing them overseas. We'd have to find a Marine attaché somewhere in Guam to go do funeral honors for a Marine that, retired to Guam and passed away there. So that the funeral honors section is, they don't get a lot of attention either, unfortunately, but they are the ones that are sending Marines out to fold the flag, present them, do the rifle details, taps.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of moving parts. And once the funeral is over, go back to that Keiko, their job is not done. They're with that family for another several months, helping them get through stuff.
Yeah, I started off as a rifler, and then I was folding the flag, and then after I got promoted, Kevin, when I got back, I actually did the lead and actually handed the flag over 3 times. And the last time I did it was to a 5-year-old boy.
Mm-hmm.
The wife refused to accept it from me. So, what do you do? I handed it to the little boy, and that was it. And I was the detail of 12 months. I was at 14, and I told my NCO, I'm like, I can't do this anymore. I'm past my time. I've served my, and they ended it after that. So luckily I only did 3 of those because I was promoted to staff sergeant and had to be at least that to actually lead and present the flag. And I was like, yeah, that's enough. And again, still just the small percentage of the process.
So, Carl, what else, if you had one message or a couple of items about the process that you'd want the public to know, what would those be? What takeaways? I mean, you talked about, the precision, but what would you want people to know about this process for service members?
I think just knowing that any service member that's passed away is treated with all the dignity and respect. I mean, it's down to every detail. Their uniforms, I've put together countless uniforms for Marines at Dover. I did time at Dover where I was putting uniforms together. I was getting these guys dressed before they got to their final resting place. We're doing their uniforms better than we would do our own. I mean, we're sitting there with rulers, making sure that their ribbons and badges are in the perfect place. Dover has their own, I can't even think of the word, but where they're stitching patches on and stuff, and it's meticulous. We are sitting there with scissors, getting any little string that might be sticking off. Those uniforms are all steamed by us, pressed. So yeah, I think that's the biggest takeaway is knowing that, especially if anybody's listening that has lost a service member, those service members are treated with all of the respect that somebody that died for their country could have received.
So another question for you, Carl, and this is off the cuff one. How about support for you guys that do this work? Is there a support network and counseling and things for you guys so that, I mean, you guys go through some tough work, right? And I know you guys do it with pride and dignity, but it's also some tough work to do. So can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. So, if you're in uniform, even out of uniform, when we were working at casualty section, if we had a mass casualty or we were handling something that was pretty tragic, they'd bring in a chaplain for us if we wanted to talk to chaplains. Overseas, it was the same. When we were in uniform, they would actually force us to go meet with a chaplain and a psych probably once a month just to, air stuff out. So there's a lot of support. I personally now use the VA for stuff. I've not had any complaint. I know the VA gets a bad rap, but I have not had any complaints with the VA. They've taken pretty good care of me since I've been back. So there's a lot of resources out there. You just have to find them. and use them. But as far as the active duty side and like working in the casualty section, they offer a lot of resources for people like us to talk to. And then talking to each other. I mean, I go back to my buddy Deli. I got friends in North Carolina that I see once or twice a year, and we, hash out old memories that we have. I got a few buddies up here that we keep in touch with still. And, if we're having a tough time, we'll reach out. Or sometimes we just check in with each other to make sure that everybody's okay.
Buddy check.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
Yep.
Well, that's good. Because and again, good that there's resources in the military, but good for that the VA is providing resources after as well. That's really good to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, 100%. I have zero complaints with them. They've taken care of me since I started using them.
And have you gone so you've been to the new facility down in Fredericksburg then?
I have. It is gorgeous. It's massive, and that's where my primary doctor is. I use the VA as my primary healthcare source. I go in there every 6 months for checkups, and if I need somebody to talk to on the side, they'll coordinate that for me. It may not be somebody with the VA because they have to outsource a lot of stuff, but they've never put me in touch with somebody that didn't help me.
Yeah.
I just started using the VA, Carl. I went down to that facility. I met with my primary care physician twice. I was really impressed with the primary care physician I got assigned.
Yeah.
And his level of candidness about support through the VA, right? Because he told me the good, the bad, and the ugly, right? And so he said, because I still have private insurance, he goes, I wouldn't just abandon. He goes, if you have the opportunity to keep it, because there are things that the VA does really good, but he goes, there's things that the VA does that is not so good as well. And they said, if you have that opportunity, I highly encourage you to keep that in your back pocket.
Yeah, I have private health care as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the private healthcare is my back pocket healthcare for anything that the VA can't provide. But anything I need now, at this stage in my life, I can have taken care of by the VA.
My civilian primary care physician retired in 2006, and I've been going strictly VA since then.
Okay.
And I actually work for a major insurance company, so I do have civilian insurance. And the VA, just like any other, they bill my primary insurance first. What they pay, and the VA pays the rest. And I've got no problems. We have one here. I don't go to the one in Nashville. I can, but my local one is Murfreesboro, and it's a wonderful, wonderful place. And we have telephonic. I talk to mental health specialists once every 6 months, like you were saying, and all my care goes through VA. And if they can't see me within a reasonable amount of time, they've got their network of civilian contractors around the area that I can go to instead. There's even a couple urgent cares that take VA that I can go over to.
I believe you get 7 free visits to urgent care through the VA a year.
Mm-hmm.
So if there's something I need bad right away, then I'll use urgent care as well.
Yep. But I've got no complaints about the VA. I haven't had a problem with them. The only thing I have to say is they have a lot of turnover because they go, these doctors go to the VA, they get a little bit of, experience under the belt and they move on.
Sure.
So it's like, you remember your doctor's name? No, I don't. I don't at all.
Well, Carl, I think it's been a great conversation as we discussed in advance, right? The second half of our podcast, and it's ironic that we actually went 30 minutes. And you see, because we do a live podcast, we actually delved into the VA a little bit, which is a great segue into this. But we cover a lot of topics that have been recently in the headlines, and we'll include you in some of them for conversation. We, the local ones, will get your feedback in as well.
Awesome.
Okay. So we'll go with the first topic. And recently, the Kennedy Center's making some headlines, right? The judge ruled Friday that Trump's name has to be removed from the Kennedy Center, and he's put a pause on the renovations. My personal opinion, This is the right move.
Yeah.
Right. His name does not belong on that building. That building was redesignated by Congress. And that's what, this is not a political statement. This is the right. I think the judge made the right thing. Congress renamed the building. That's in Congress's authority to rename the building. And the renovations, that money, the only part of the federal government that can allocate funds is Congress.
Yeah.
So I think the judge got this right. I know there's going to be some fighting back and forth, but I think this is going to stand. I think if this goes to the Supreme Court, this is going to stand as it is. Jim, what's your feedback on that?
I don't think the Supreme Court's going to hear it. I mean, because you're absolutely right. I mean, Congress, it's all Congress, the money, the name, everything. And we know the man has an ego. We know. And that's what it was. I didn't understand why he did it in the first place. I'm not surprised that it didn't stand. So I agree with it.
Awesome.
I'll third that. I agree as well. And it goes with the ego thing too. It just didn't make sense.
This is narcissism on steroids, right? That's what it is. Right?
Like I say all the time, I don't deny who the man is. I know he's arrogant. I know he's narcissistic. I know his ego's off the charts. I know this. You know, I don't deny it.
He's trying to leave this legacy, and whether his name gets removed now or the end of his term, his name is going to come off that building, right?
But,
even if he fights it for some magical reason, the name stays there. I guarantee that name will come off that building.
Yeah, but even if it comes off and stays that way, he had a period of time where that was on there, and the controversy surrounding it will endure.
Yeah. Well, on to Graham Plattner. This is the guy running for Senate, right, in Maine. This guy, and it's funny, he's leading in the polls, right? And he is so off the charts. He was in the Marine Corps. He was in the Army. He's been saying a lot of derogatory things about people in the military, especially the Purple Heart recipient that was shot. Right? He's saying that the guy shouldn't even be alive. He was stupid the way he acted and what he did. And so I just don't understand this guy. And obviously in the last 21 hours, there's been all this stuff about, inappropriate texts when he's married and stuff like that. I just don't get why this guy is so strong in the polls. When you look at Maine for the state it is, right, very center of the road state, majority. And Susan Collins, I think, represents that in their state. And this guy is leading in the polls. And I read an article just yesterday about one of the Democratic, I think he's a state assemblyman in the state, says, hey, people have been ahead of Susan Collins before, but when people go to the poll to vote, they vote, right? Common sense. So really, it's alarming. The guy claims to be a communist, claims to be a Marxist, and he wants to represent Maine in the Senate. Jim, what's your take?
He's a Democrat, so of course he's a communist and a socialist. I mean that's their whole thing, right? The redistribution of wealth and all that good stuff. So that's why he's leading in the polls. However, I always have to question where the polls are coming from, and you know how polls are. The polls said that Trump would never win in 2016. And you can go more from there. But I mean, the people you poll, you grab them on the street or whatever, that doesn't mean that they're going to vote come November. You're 90% of these people you hit, or you hit the colleges. God forbid if you hit the colleges, what's going to happen when you hit the colleges. So the polls doesn't surprise me. But if he is leading, it's simply because that's what he's projecting, and he's projecting for the Democrats, and that's what they want. They want more government.
Yeah. Again, I'm concerned about this guy representing. I don't live in Maine, but he, if he gets elected, he'll have an influence in the Senate, and that's scary to me. But you never know. I mean, if you look at what's going on in Pennsylvania, right? Look at and I'm having a brain lock on his name. The Pennsylvania senator that was a Democrat, and he's been very level-headed and common sense since he's been in the Senate.
Fetterman?
Fetterman.
Yeah, Fetterman.
Fetterman.
Yes. Right.
Yes.
I was
What
alarmed
happened to
when
him?
they elected him. Now look at him.
My God, it's like he did a 180. It's like, is he on our side now? Well, what the heck?
He's just taking a very common sense approach, right? He's putting
Yeah.
politics aside. And he's doing what he thinks is right based on common sense.
Yeah. You would have never thought common sense coming from Fetterman, and yet there it is.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
All right. How about the Trump endorsed candidates this year? That is something to watch, right? I am shocked at what is going on. You got incumbents being
Unseated everywhere.
They're losing, right? Cornyn, and then Massey, right? They're both out.
Massey.
They're both out. So, you know, it's amazing that Trump has the influence that he has to sway voters to go a certain direction. I find it amazing that he has that much sway and influence in the polls.
Well,
he's
either hot or cold. You either love the man or you hate him. Yeah. You know, and that kind of influence can go either way. You just never know how it's going to go with the people, because the people are fickle. I mean, that's just all there is to it. 1 minute they can love you and you do or say one thing, and the next moment they don't want to roast you alive.
So what I think will be interesting is, and we'll probably cover this in the future, Jim, is once Trump is out of office, what kind of influence will he have on candidates and elections, right? It's probably a great topic to cover.
That's a good point, because, you know, we've complained about how much influence Obama still has, or how much influence this person or that person still has. It's like it would work the same way. I don't see Trump working covertly. Trump has got too much ego to work covertly, like Obama and others have.
Of course,
he would do it right up front.
Yeah. Well, how busy was he while Biden was in? Trump was all over the place when Biden was in office.
Yeah, and you knew it.
Yeah.
Yep. He didn't do it covertly. I mean, he's out there.
Yeah, but he's not going to be a young spring chicken when when he gets out of this term, right?
He's not going to be.
If he still has the next account, he's going to be out there.
Yeah,
absolutely.
They got a new thing now where they're trying to illegitimize. I think that's the wrong word. His first term, because of how much flack he got from the other side, so that he can run again. I'm like, no, that's not going to fly.
No, he's done. He's done after this one.
Done. Yep.
All right, Delaney Hall, the ICE detention center in New Jersey, and the riots that have been going on outside this outside. So I'm good with protesting, right? That's what this country is founded on. I am good with peaceful protesting. Please protest. You know, this all started because a bunch of inmates in the detention facility complained about lack of access to food and care and stuff like that. And so who knows what's really going on? Okay, they publish the menu. Doesn't mean that everybody's eating, right? Is the facility overloaded, right? There's so much going on. We don't know what the real ground truth is. And so where I disagree with the Trump administration is you got to let people in to see what's going on. Because when you don't let them in, right? The governor, New Jersey governor, tried to get into the facility to see what's going on. She was denied access. So what you do is you just you're fueling the fire by not letting people in. If they're getting the care and they're not getting and they're getting all the things they need, then you should be inviting people in to show them what's going on.
Yeah, it kind of leaves a bad taste, because you know the and I gotcha, but generally when they want to get in and see something, they're going to overblow it, they're going to overplay it, they're going to make it about a whole different. If she would honestly go in and honestly, objectively review and rate the facility, if you could be sure that she was going to do that, I would have no problem letting her in. I was like, but they're going to go in there completely biased, because they hate him, hate Trump, hate Trump, hate Trump. That's their whole mantra. I'm going to go in there, no matter what I see, I'm going to come out and I'm going to give a scathing review of how evil that man is. And that's what's going to happen. But all things being equal, yes, she should have had access.
So, initially, when the initial riot happened, because of the order by the governor, the state and local police were not helping to fend off the protesters, when it got violent. Now they have the state police involved. The Newark mayor has put in a mandatory curfew, a half-mile surrounding the facility. And what's interesting, I read an article this morning that these protests are being organized where, like, they're setting up tables with gas masks and all kinds of stuff. So, there's money. There's a lot of money coming from outside. And when I say outside, I don't care if it's outside the border of New Jersey. I care if it's outside the border of the United States. That's what I care about, right? Where's the money coming from to fuel these problems? That's a concern for me.
Well, see, the concern for me is the right to protest, and we've covered this in previous podcasts. The right to protest is given to us by the Constitution, by the Bill of Rights, as long as it's peaceful. The fact that it's being manipulated, the fact that it's being funded, the fact that it's being pushed, that's what I have a problem with. If you and I didn't like something in our neighborhood, and we gathered a few friends out, made some signs out of cardboard and markers, and walked out in front of this, that's a peaceful protest. When you have somebody come in and say, hey, I like the problems you're causing. Let me give you some money so you can really cause problems. That's where my problem is. That's no longer a constitutionally guaranteed right to protest.
But I think a lot of the problems come with, Jim, and we've covered this in other podcasts, is that I think there's people that legitimately come there to legitimately protest.
I'm sure.
And then there are people that come to stir the pot. And they could be on either side. Number one, they're either against the facilities and they're emotionally distraught over what's going on. And then there are those that are on the opposing side that just want to stir the pot to give it a bad look, right? So I would love to be on the inside interviewing, but I work for the government as a contractor, so I don't think that would be in my best interest. But I would love to see what's really going on the ground on some of this stuff, so that we could provide accurate perspectives on what's really going on. But it's concerning to me. It's concerning. Again, great with protesting, not great with rioting. And again, where's the funding coming from? Is it coming from outside the borders? Is it coming from China? Is it coming from Russia? Is it coming, where's it coming from? Yep. All righty. The gun law restrictions of Virginia.
Ooh.
I'm going to let you start us off on this, Carl, because I know this is one that you're tracking actively because we both live in Virginia. Go ahead. Tell us.
Yeah, they're trying to strip our gun rights away. Assault rifles and the high capacity magazines being illegal to carry and not being able to be purchased. I mean, if you're grandfathered in, you're grandfathered in, but I believe July 1st is the cutoff. Not a fan. My understanding is that she's being sued, so I don't know if anything will come of that. But yeah, that's concerning. I'm a big 2A supporter. I think we should have the right to carry, what we want with limits. I'm not opposed to background checks on people.
Right.
I think that's important. But yeah, you're tying our hands. We're turning into California, and we see how well that state's doing.
Yeah. Shall not be infringed.
So it's interesting. So, it's banning assault weapons. So define an assault weapon. Right? They have yet to define that. So it's still a gray area. It bans high capacity magazines, right? More than 15 rounds. My SIG P320 has 17 and 21 round magazines. Right? So they're going to have to now, SIG's going to have to go back and make magazines for my SIG so I can be legal. So even though I'm grandfathered, I'm not grandfathered on the magazine. The magazine has got to be 15 round or it's a misdemeanor. They raised the purchase age to 21. They banned the manufacture, sale, and possession of untraceable and serialized firearms. I actually agree with that.
100%.
Right? That's one I can get behind. I can get behind the safe storage. I think that should be mandatory, that everybody that wants to own a gun, we've talked about this before in podcasts, right? you get a driver's license, drive a car, right? So there's fundamental rules of the road of driving a car. Well, if you want to own a gun, there's fundamental rules about being able to properly clear it, store it, engage it, right? Basic operations. Nobody's saying I need to track the guns. I just want to make sure that if you're going to own a gun, that you can do basic stuff. So I'm with that. I'm for it 100%. Now, what's interesting is they're expanding where you can carry in public.
See, that's a problem.
Yeah.
See, here in Tennessee, you know, our gun laws aren't as strict as what they're trying to pass in Virginia. First of all, 21, that's BS. If you can join the military, you should be able to buy a gun at 18. That's just all there is to it. I feel the same about alcohol and tobacco as well. But anyway, you know, in Tennessee, you know, we can open carry now. It hadn't always been that, but the problem I have in Tennessee is if I'm a legal permit carrier, right? Carrying my gun, go to work, I leave it in my car. You know, it's locked in my car, which we have a gun in trunks law here. Basically, you can leave your gun in the trunk. You can leave your gun in the glove compartment as long as it's concealed so somebody walking by can't see it. That's basically it. And it's more detailed, but that's basically it. But if I have a problem and I have to go pick up my kid at school, I have my gun in the car. I can't be on school grounds with a weapon anywhere on me or in my vehicle. What am I supposed to do? That's the kind of thing. They always have something like that that's going to get you. Always, no matter how well they do a law, or if I have to go to the VA, I have an emergency or something, I go to the VA clinic. Guess what? Federal property. I can't take that. What am I going to do? Throw my gun away? I can't throw my gun away. Now somebody's going to find my gun. They've always got some little thing in there that's going to catch you. I don't care what state you're in. I don't care what laws they do. They're going to have something that's going to allow them to still get you. And why do we even have a federal, you know, it's a federal law. It's the Second Amendment. It's federal. Why are states even chipping away at it? I don't even understand why they have their own input. I mean, shall not be infringed is pretty clear.
Yeah. What I think what's interesting is like even I think it's the Fredericksburg or Spotsylvania DA said he's not going to enforce the new law.
Spotsylvania. Yeah, they're not going to touch it.
Yeah, they're not going to touch it because he believes it violates the Second Amendment.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe this is going to go through the gamut. You know, it's going to be interesting to see if the Supreme Court gets involved. There's times where the Supreme Court does get involved in these restrictions, and there's times where the Supreme Court doesn't touch it. So I think it's going to take a while in Virginia. I'm hoping to God that the Supreme Court gets involved and rules that it's invalid. I hope to God that happens. All right. How about this horrific bus crash in Virginia, right here in Stafford, right in the county I live in, Stafford County, this week? This is tragic. This is absolutely tragic. Go ahead, Jim. 5
people killed, I think it was 44 sent to the hospital. And bus driver, and he just went right through the construction zone with everybody was slowed down. And I mean, they're looking now at his records, and they saying he can't speak English, so he shouldn't have had a driver's license to begin, a bus license to begin with, CDL, whatever. And it's just a mess. And I mean, these none of these people, I mean, that's a lot of people. I mean, 3 of them in the hospital are critical condition. They could very well die, bringing the death toll up to 8. Children, I mean, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it was early in the morning, so maybe he fell asleep behind it. But either way, they say he can't speak English, so he shouldn't have, a CDL or truck or bus license anyway. It's a disaster.
Carl, what's your take on this?
I agree. I understand 2 children were of the 5 fatalities. Yeah, awful. And I know everything that you know. There was a construction zone, vehicles were slowed down and stopped, and the bus just barreled into I think it hit 5 or 6 cars. Mm-hmm. And can only imagine, I'm assuming the 34 or 44 injured were the passengers on the bus. And then everybody in those cars just got beat bad.
Yeah, this is a shame. A couple things about this. Number one, he's been charged with manslaughter now. The driver has, and I think before long, the company is going to be held liable, and there'll probably be people in the company I would expect to be charged. You know, I got an issue with these buses driving through the night. Talk about my own personal experience. A chaperone many years ago. Marching band down to Florida. My son was on the marching band right down to Orlando, and you do an overnight bus ride, and on the, and you get there first thing in the morning, you hit the ground. Well, it's the same on the reverse coming home, and your job, me and another a parent, we got tagged to make sure that the driver stays awake. Well, we've been running around in the park all day, and now you want me to stay awake, right? So. There were a few times where we dozed out, but I think the driver dozed out too, because all of a sudden the bus, right, slightly swerved. So I think it should be on the companies to have two drivers in the vehicle,
yes,
right? That are, I think the company's responsible for having somebody in that bus to keep them awake. I truly believe the guy he either had a medical emergency or he fell asleep. You just don't go barreling through cars without consciously knowing you're doing it.
Yeah, because even if you couldn't read the English sign, which might still be an issue, I mean, you can see cars stopped.
Absolutely.
Now
Absolutely.
you may run through it and say, "Oh crap," and and hit the brakes too late, maybe hit a car or two, but you're not going to barrel through the whole thing.
No.
Yeah.
So,
And I agree with having an A driver. We have to have A drivers in the military. You don't drive a vehicle without somebody sitting in the passenger seat with you. I understand there's not a passenger seat in the bus right next to the driver, but put somebody behind them that is also a driver. Switch out every few hours.
And in our cars, right? We have lane departure systems. We have emergency, automatic braking. We got to get these features into these big buses, man.
Well, a lot of company vehicles now have the governors on them where they can't go over 60 or 70 miles an hour.
Yeah, but I'm talking about putting this.
You see it on there. This vehicle cannot exceed 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Well, and do these are they going to go after the state for licensing this guy? Are they going to? Can they go after New York?
Yeah, I'm wondering that myself.
Yeah.
Because it's a federal. I was reading it's a federal law that if they can't read English, because again, that may not be the primary cause, but it's still going to come up.
Sure.
A whole family, those two children and their parents were killed in I think the first car, right, that they smashed into. So what a shame. The whole family eliminated, right, because of bad safety practices. It's just absolute shame.
Yeah.
Roller coaster in Galveston. Go ahead, Jim.
That they were like upside down. They were at the top of like 100-foot peak. You climb up it to go down to get that gravity, get that momentum to go down, and it stops. It stalls. So they got these people up. I can't remember how long they were up, but there's like 6 people.
3 hours. They were up there for over 3 hours.
Yeah. They're sitting with their back toward it. You can see a picture of the crane, and they got to get them out of those. Oh my God. That is insane. That's like the nightmare of going to, a park like that. And I've always said, and I'm past the years that I'm riding roller coasters, but I always said that I will never ride a roller coaster at a park that gets assembled for 2 months of the year and then disassembled. I would only ride them at a park where they're always assembled, they're always maintained, it's always running, somebody's always there. And this didn't make any difference. It still happened on this ride. And that I just had to be terrifying. I mean, that's just crazy. I mean, what are the safety protocols at that point? They didn't have anywhere for them to get off the walk down. They had to get a daggone cherry picker up there, a big old crane to get them down.
Well, the thing is, they were up there for 3 hours. It was probably hot. They probably had no water, right, or hydration, right? And, to reach them 100 feet up probably wasn't easy. So,
and getting them out of there, like practically backwards to them, because they were sitting upside.
Yeah. If there's a good part about it, obviously something flagged on the system that stopped it, right? And nobody got injured or killed. So there is good news in this, right? Is that maybe there's a good reason it stopped. And
Yeah,
maybe if they would have continued on, it
think-
would have been bad.
you would think a reverse feature would kick in and let it clink back down gradually, because they were on a track. You go up, they're on that track. You think that track could be reversed.
Yeah. All right, 2 more subjects to cover. Another big one, the artist pulling out of America 250. Jim, you got the lead on this one.
Yeah, America's 250th celebration. I mean, how many times does that happen, right? And you get all these artists can sign for it. But since then, Martina McBride's pulled out, Brett Michaels has pulled out, the Commodores have pulled out, several of them have pulled out. And it's like, well, first of all, they're stating the divisiveness. They're stating that I was like, you didn't know this signing on that's where the country's at right now. I was like, you signed on for this celebration, you committed to it, and everybody's pulling out, stating safety reasons, stating division. This is not what I signed on for, and they're left and right. They're pulling out. They only got a few acts left. I don't know what's gonna. Vanilla Ice so far is the only one that's been adamant and said I'm going to do it. I'm looking forward to it. And the other ones I haven't heard anything from yet, but there's been what, 6 or 7, maybe 8 acts pulled out by now. I just don't understand that. You're not celebrating. And some of them even said, I don't want to do a Trump backed event. Then why did you sign up in the first place? You know who the president is. You know who's organizing the thing. You're the man. Fine. You're not celebrating Trump, celebrating the country's 250th birthday.
So Colin put a comment in here. He said they're pulling out of Freedom 250, not American 250.
Okay.
So there must be a difference, and we'll have to research that. I appreciate that, Colin.
Yeah, I think that's simply the concert itself.
Okay. Well, here's the deal.
Celebration.
Let's go back to our first thing about the Trump Kennedy Center, right? It's because Trump's probably putting his own damn spin on that, right? And then probably when they found out that they probably were inking in the final details. Jim, this is me pure speculation, right? But Trump is involved. The guy's narcissistic, right? We know that. And so they probably said, hey, I signed up to celebrate America. I didn't sign up to, welcome Trump to the stage and shake my hand. And, so I get it. So we don't know all the details. They're pulling out. We don't know all the details. I think I got it. Let's celebrate America. But obviously there's something going on in the background that we're not tracking that is causing people to drop out. Yeah,
but I mean, it's like you've never, like the Commodores, how long have they been performing? Like half a century at least. It's like, ever had a jerk as a concert promoter? You've never had to deal with that your whole career. You've never had to deal with anybody with an ego, right? I mean, come on.
Well, I think for everyone dropping out, there's going to be 2 that want to replace them.
Yeah.
So,
but I mean, the thing is,
I'm sure they'll figure it out. For me, it's like, okay, you don't want to do it. You don't want to do it. Okay.
It's just, to me, I mean, they obviously couldn't have signed a contract or anything yet, because then there would be legal ramifications. But I mean, if you give, your word that you're going to perform, and then you start pulling out, that's like, you didn't go into this blindly. There's been controversy over this.
Collins put some information in the chat. He said, hey, he goes, obviously the Celebration of America was put together 10 years ago. He said Freedom 250 was established as a separate organization established by Trump in December 2025. So obviously, like I said, there's probably more to the story that we're not tracking, Jim.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. I just don't understand. And
I
it's no different for me than when somebody says they're going to play a stadium and they sell, 40,000 tickets instead of 60,000. Well, I'm not going to play.
Yeah.
Like, really be a jerk about it.
Well, that's what makes this country great. They have a choice to make a decision. And they chose not to perform, and they're expressing their First Amendment right to say, I am not performing.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. But they're also, in my opinion, being jerks about it. So we can both be right.
Yep. All right, last subject. Buc-ee's in Stafford.
That's all you guys.
The Beaver. The Beaver is coming to Stafford, Virginia at exit 140. I live 1 mile from there. Carl, what's your take on the Buc-ee's?
I think it's going to wreak havoc on the 95 corridor. And I think it's going to stretch from Lorton down to me in Fredericksburg. It is going to be a disaster. I think it's going to create job opportunities, which is great for any, big business coming in. But the traffic from the interstate, I've been to the Buc-ee's down in Tennessee, and I've seen the traffic back up onto the highway.
Mm-hmm.
And the Buc-ee's is a quarter mile away from the highway. It's insane. It'll be nice to get some Buc-ee nuggets close by, but I don't know if I want to sit in traffic for 3 hours trying to get home from Woodbridge because of a gas station.
So here's my take. I am not against Buc-ee's. I am against where they're putting Buc-ee's. Buc-ee's should go down to exit 136.
Hey,
Down to 136 because that's an industrial area.
Sure.
You're putting a Buc-ee's in a residential area. It's affecting two main residential communities, Embry Mill and Austin Ridge. Okay. And so it's affecting, it's literally going to be on the doorstep of those two communities. And so my problem is there's so many problems with this. Yes, the county's strapped for money. Yes, they need to generate revenue. But a lot of the revenue coming in is not going to touch Stafford County. It's going to go to the state. It's the state that's going to benefit the most from this. Of course, there's going to be sales tax and stuff that Stafford County is going to get. But a lot of the money that we're going to benefit is not going to be there. The good news is that 3 to 4 years before they get an operation, because the federal study on the traffic still has to be done. Buc-ee's already proffered in that they got to make changes for the traffic. But I don't think Carl, I think you hit it right on the head. You're not going to be able to fix I-95. I-95 is a mess.
They can't fix it now without a Buc-ee's.
Yeah.
Come on.
I-40. Same problem with I-40 here in Tennessee.
Exactly.
That's true.
think putting it down where Kalahari's going, I think that would have been the play.
Yes, sir. I agree.
Yeah, Stafford, oh boy, it's going to be a mess.
And, here's the thing. The zoning commission staff recommended to the zoning commission in Stafford to not approve. Yet the zoning board approved it 4-3. And then the board of supervisors approved it 5-2. It's crazy. And I'm telling you, thank God 3 to 4 years from now, because it gives me a lot of time to figure out where I'm going.
Come on down to Fredericksburg. Get away from that traffic.
Well, I might get out of Virginia if these gun laws hold up. So
that's
you never know.
Also fair.
So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. Buc-ee's is trying to expand, all over. This is not the first Buc-ee's in Virginia. There's already one on, is it on 81 or 64? There's one already?
Yeah, it's out west. I think southwest somewhere.
Yeah. Well, we've run the gamut. Carl, I really, from me personally, I want to thank you for coming on and being on the podcast. We love having people on and having the interaction. Thank you so much for sharing.
Yep. Thank you.
And now I know so much more about the dignity that our service members that, perish, the respect and honor that they get all the way through the process. It's amazing.
Well, I appreciate you guys having me. I'm going to do a shameless plug for a friend of mine.
Please do.
Gunnery Sergeant Christian Bustler wrote this book. It's still available on Amazon. No Tougher Duty, No Greater Honor. It tells the story of what we do overseas. It's from his point of view, his experiences. But if you want a better understanding of what it's like being mortuary affairs or personnel retrieval and processing while deployed, give the book a read. And it might even be streaming. I don't know. You might be able to do audiobook if that's more your thing, but it's well written. Again, Gunny Bustler, good friend of mine. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Jim, we've run the gamut.
Yep. We have indeed.
All righty. So we don't have a date for our next podcast, but we're looking at doing it on data centers in general. And so we're trying to get somebody on to talk about somebody who's done a lot of research right here in Stafford County, because we got a lot going on, Stafford County, Virginia, with data centers. There's a lady, and I don't remember her name, but I'm going to get in touch and see if we can't get her on here to talk about data centers. We're going to get somebody who's an expert on data centers on here, but that'll be our next podcast. We're going to shoot for 3 weeks from today. Jim, that work for you?
I'm looking 7/14/21. That should work.
Yeah. Awesome. So, more to follow. We'll post some stuff on Facebook and we'll get the word out once we get the details locked in. We appreciate the followers. Hey, for the folks that do watch us, please like, subscribe, follow us, right? If you like what we're doing, please do that. If you don't like what we're doing, obviously you're not going to. But if you do like what we're doing and things we're covering, we'd appreciate your support. It's
free to like and subscribe. It doesn't cost you a penny.
Doesn't cost anything.
Yep. So thank you guys again for having me. Let me tell my story. I appreciate it and I enjoyed it. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
Well, I'm Kevin.
I'm Jim.
And we are
Signal Brothers.
Thanks, folks. Have a good one.
Thank you, everyone.